Welcome to Serial Podcast 9.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Gerard.
And
No, I
I'm
turned it off.
Ryan. Oh, for fuck's sakes. And I'm Ryan. This is Serial Podcast 9. Episode.
Who cares? Yeah, bro. We're
fine.
talking
All
about
right.
8.6s.
Yeah. Okay, so we're... Yeah, that's right.
Hachiroku's, Corollas,
Somebody may have noticed...
GTS.
Oh, GTS. Yeah, good. We're already in it. Somebody may have noticed that we've blown right by 8.6 day. And we absolutely
Didn't really give a shit.
We did not give a shit. But then I went on a spirit quest this weekend in Calgary, Alberta, and realized that 8.6 guys don't really even like to show up to their own events. That's what Dave Vickers taught me. So I figured, hey, better late than never seems to be kind of like an 8.6 theme. So we're going to talk about 8.6s today. I've never had an 8.6, but Gerard and Kevin have.
Yeah.
All right.
You gotta have an 8.6, bud.
Why?
Let's see a show of hands as who's had an 8.6. I mean, honestly, I think in today's day and age, it's probably harder for people to have had an 8.6.
100%.
Because like when we were younger, 8.6s were like actually affordable. They were like relatively unknown. Now it's like, geez, to try buy an 8.6, you might as well buy a BMW. Like,
yeah, you better love that car.
Yeah. So both of you have had an 8.6. I have not.
Kevin's had more than one 8.6.
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah.
How many 8.6s have you had, Kevin?
6. 8.
No. 86. I don't think I've had a ton. I think I've had
2, 3.
that one, and that became that one. And then I had that one, and I had three different shells.
3 different shells. Now, when I said we were doing an 8.6 episode, you said, and I quote, "Gotta have an 8.6." And my follow-up question is why?
I think it teaches you a lot about how to be a driver, and
Teaches you a lot about how fact and fiction are a lot different. 8.6s are not that great in real life, but apparently in anime they are amazing.
Was that your big takeaway?
No, I mean that's just the reality. I mean, I love 8.6s. I mean, I loved it when I had it, but there definitely were a lot of shortcomings. But I mean, as far as a rainy day car, that is probably one of the most fun rainy day cars you'll ever have.
I feel like one of the shortcomings is the lack of a Jay-Z engine. I don't know. That's just me. So did you both had coupes, or
just needs that beams.
I had a coupe, yeah. It was a 1985 coupe.
And Kevin, you had a coupe because I've seen photos. Did you?
Yeah, I had an 86 coupe, and then an 85 coupe, and then I can't remember what the last one was. It was either an 86.
Must have made a real impression on you. Can't even
that one was so far from stock. It wasn't even recognizable. Like,
yeah.
So
probably didn't even have a fucking VIN number on it.
I had the letter from Toyota that was like, "We're giving this car to this team to use for rally racing."
That's sick.
Yeah. But I mean, like that, 30 years of rally racing later, and I'm like trying to make it like a stance drift car.
Yeah. You don't take like a rally car has suspension that's like semi-lifted and then try to dump it below the ground. It just doesn't work very well.
All right. So you each had Corollas.
Yes.
I've said this before in the past. I feel like a lot of Corolla owners stay Corolla owners forever.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys got out.
Yeah.
How and why did you get out?
I'm not sure if Ryan cut this, but I know I've said it before. Because I traded a carbon fiber Torino hood because I had all the parts to do the 11 conversion when I got my second Corolla, but it came with a carbon fiber hood. I traded that for an entire X7 Cressida, and that car was quicker than my Corolla, drifted better than my Corolla, and had all this awesome cool shit, like power heated mirrors and all that my Corolla never had. And here I'd spent all this time and money on this Corolla, and right out the gate this Cressida is better, and I was kind of like, well, maybe there's more to life than Corolla.
Oh, that's real good.
But I mean, at that
That's
time,
a
I
hard
also had
pill to
a
swallow.
TE, which is the generation before the AE. I had one of those at the same time as having that same Cressida.
Yeah.
I asked Dave Vickers, I was like, look, if you had to drive any car that wasn't an 8.6, what would you drive? And his immediate response was like, probably a Mango. And then I was like, no, okay, like you can't drive a Corolla. What would you drive? And he seemed so flabbergasted by this question. And that was when I kind of realized it's the opposite. It's like kind of what you just said, Kevin, where you're like, and then I realized there's other cars that aren't Corollas, but then there seems to be this Corolla vortex of like the Corolla is the only car like worth having, and Corolla enthusiasts seem to embody that a bit, that I've noticed, but I could be totally wrong. Maybe
I feel like
haven't.
I feel like Corolla guys are pretty diehard Corolla guys.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, once you're in a Corollas, you're like, you probably don't really get out of Corollas, but like I feel like some, with technology in today's day and age, a lot of people have sort of evolved their Corollas. Like most people have like beams or something in their Corollas now,
Yeah.
like 3SGEs or like S2K motors or equivalent, some
NA or
rotaries.
turbo SRs.
Yes, SRs. I mean, honestly, I haven't really seen a dope like NA one, which I would just think would be so amazing. But yeah, I've seen a couple turbo SR ones. So why I got out of Corollas?
Yeah.
Okay, so
You want it to be different.
no.
Ah,
I liked my
damn it.
Corolla. I did a bunch of stuff to it. It was like, I had my Corolla. It was like 99 to 2000. So it was like long time ago. Like coilovers were like a new thing back then. So like I had coilovers on my Corolla. I had the first set of Tokiko HTSs like in Canada. So like those were kind of sick. I did that. I had like, 15x7 whatever wheels, and I did the brakes and the brake lines and exhaust, whatever. It was like kind of cool, but then it was like, well, shit, what am I gonna turbocharge this thing? Like it's still fucking slow as shit. Like it handles pretty cool. It was like, you just rev the piss out of it, drive the balls off of it, and it just comes back for more. But it like, gives you all of like 125 maybe fucking horsepower or something, right? Like it's awesome in the rain, but in the dry, it was just like, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy like $1,000 LSD for the thing. Probably not. I had like somebody part out like a turbocharged AW11. So I got the manifold and the turbo and like a bunch of shit off of that. And I was like gonna turbocharge my 86, and then sort of didn't really know what I was doing back then enough to like successfully accomplish that.
Yeah.
As far as like, making the intercooler piping and all this kind of stuff. And then it started acting up like I had HPS brakes, like Hawk HPSs and HP Plus. They're fucking so ungodly noisy. And then I developed like a rear wheel bearing noise, and it would resonate into the car, and it just drove me nuts. So then the opportunity came up to sell it, because basically, like I said, I built these crazy coilovers for it, and I actually sold the coilovers for more than the car. I sold the coilovers back then for $2,500, and I sold the car for $2,000 with absolutely no suspension or wheels. The guy came to my house and like put his suspension in, took this fucking shell away from me, and I just like, it was out of my hair. I was like, fuck this. And then that's when I bought the SA22, or I guess it would be the FB. So like pretty comparable cars, small.
It's so funny because, sorry, I was just gonna say that that's fully how it would happen. Like another Corolla dude comes
Yeah.
to buy it with
Yeah.
all the suspension he needs to like drive it away, like
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I got this.
yeah.
Yeah, I sold the suspension for like a ludicrous amount of money, because it had like Hyperco coil springs, and it was like had crazy top hats. Like it was like nice ass shit. It was like brand new. But anyways, yeah. So like Corolla, amazing handling, fun to drive, shit engine. FB, like pretty powerful. Like did like 3 mods. It was probably making 150, 160 horse, super fast, but like terrible handling. So yeah, that was my 8.6 story.
Good.
And honestly, it does seem like kind of have that weird plateau where it's like, yeah, you can do all the suspension and it can handle stick. You can get a diff and it's it's going to grip way better.
Yeah.
But then you hit that wall and you're like, all right, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to spend literally like $10,000
$4,000? Yeah, like
to to make
And I mean, back
200
then,
to make
S2K
200
motors swapped
NA
went on.
horsepower.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
I mean, I think,
and back then, like it was either turbo it or supercharge it, or do
Yeah.
a 20 valve,
yeah.
and,
Yeah, and that's the thing.
SRs and rotaries at that point were kind of unheard of.
Yeah, back then we were importing cars and we had a 20 valve. And I remember actually driving or getting a ride in. No, I drove a 20 valve. I guess it would have been the car at that point. I drove a 20 valve in something. I swear it was the actual AE 111 car.
A101.
AE 101. What was in the 111?
I think the 111 is the black top.
But it's still
Yeah.
20 valve though, right?
Yeah, they're both 20 valves. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, one of the two cars, I remember driving it and thinking, oh, fuck, this is going to be sick. Like, I was like all super stoked. Like, this is it, man. I'm going to get a ride and I'm going to drive this like amazing technological masterpiece, 5 valves per cylinder, like whatever. And I remember thinking, like, and I came from Hondas at that point. And I remember thinking, like, this is all you got, Toyota? Like, it's barely better than the fucking blue top or whatever, red top. Like, it's I think it revved higher. It made like a little bit more power on the top, but it was, I don't know. It was just like a B series would walk all over that thing all day long.
ITBs,
what
bro.
I mean? Like,
ITBs.
I guess that was, it's kind of sick.
I mean, that
But-
that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I don't know if it's like the holy grail, but
What
like,
do those make? 170?
I have no clue, man. I have no clue. Colin messaged me the other day too. He's like, "Yo, man, like you're definitely the guy to ask. Like, what's like good fitment for a Corolla, like stock fenders with 14s?" And I was like, I'm fully not the guy to ask. Like, I haven't been in that world in 20 years, and like, I
Plus,
don't know
none of your
about
Corollas had that.
Yeah, I don't know about 14s, and I certainly don't know about stock fenders. So
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I've been very obsessed with this idea because it came up in the RX-7 episode, and we like started labeling types of car guys.
Mhm.
And there is a difference. We were like, oh, well, like rotary dudes are like you said, like maybe the nerdiest of all dudes. There's a difference between, we'll say, like JZ guys and Corolla guys.
Corolla guys
I
are
feel like it's a
through
Venn
and through
diagram.
Okay.
I feel like it's a very natural progression. Almost every person I know that's into JZXs has had a Corolla. Whereas like it's a little bit different, like for the S chassis guys. I feel like now they're getting into JZXs, but like the core sort of like JZX or anything JZ is started from like Corolla dudes.
Because it was the only
then-
thing to
But
progress.
then am
to.
I the exception? And then is like Eric the exception? Because Eric didn't have an 8.6.
Didn't he? No, I guess not.
He was an RX-7 guy, and now he has.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, he had an X7 Cressida forever ago, though.
Yeah, that's not a Corolla though, is it?
I feel
No,
like
but
the
it's
X7
like-
and
it's
the
on the-
Corolla, it's like a
It's on the JZX route. You know what I mean?
But then am I the exception to the rule that like?
but
You
you
don't
don't
have a
have but you don't
JZX.
have a JZX.
You don't have a
Well, I
have
got a
an
JZ.
Arista.
I said a JZ. I said.
Okay, but
like
it's a
JZ
different
guy.
it's a different car.
Is there
It's
a different? So then, what are the difference in what are the different Toyota guys? Because there's a Venn diagram. It's like you guys, we all
Well,
love
because the-
Toyotas and rear wheel drive.
because the Corolla is the sporty one. It's the entry level sports car from Toyota.
It's honestly it's an economy car, but yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. Like in
But-
all of
Yeah.
intents
But it's
and
also
purposes.
not anymore the entry level one. It's like,
no. But we're talking about like because
Back
now
in the
we're
day?
now the guys we're talking about that had Corollas back then probably have JZXs, right?
Or
something.
5 Corollas.
Or
Carter's never had a Corolla.
he hasn't.
No, he had a Golf.
Oh
Carter
yeah,
had a
that's right.
Golf, and then he was an S chassis dude, and I was an
Okay.
S chassis dude.
Okay, well then
That's
yeah,
what I
Carter
mean,
and
like,
I
there's a
are
bunch
on
of
the
rules.
same path. So, I guess I've just poked holes in your theory.
No, I think Gerard's theory is right. You just have to push it
Wait.
back 10 years.
Yeah, and also
Yeah,
okay, wait a
okay.
second. Before the
Did
JZX,
Daryl ever have a Corolla?
no, but listen.
All
Stop for a
right,
second.
all
Stop for a
right,
second.
fine. Okay.
Before the JZXs, there's the Cressidas.
Yeah, that's what I
Every
mean.
Cressida
Like,
guy, 100%. Well, not every Cressida guy, but I'm just saying every Corolla guy probably would move to a Cressida at one point. And then from the Cressida, it's a natural, very natural progression because a Cressida is an X chassis. So there you go.
Right. So back in the day, like 15 years ago,
Yes.
you're saying you would go Corolla, Cressida, JZ.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
people don't do that anymore because then that's
No,
stock.
because Jay-Z's are like a mainstream car now. It's like
yeah,
it's like you went from sick car A to sick car B, and then
So,
sick car B.
the
just
Like
happened to
Corolla-
be-
literally at that time, like you couldn't even import a car, or you could maybe get a JZX81.
Yeah, exactly. But like,
All
no,
right.
like
But here-
Nobody really knew about that, you know.
but
Yeah.
hear me out. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of Corolla dudes that stay Corolla guys. They're just
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
fully.
their bread and butter.
Yeah,
And you're saying there's a natural progression. So, but
yes,
what I'm saying is
only
what
for
are the
certain people,
key-
though.
Yeah, only for certain people, which we've proven that. But what are the key distinctions between the two? Because I don't think they're one and the same. I would never own a Corolla. Like,
yeah. But you're also like newer school.
yeah, well, kind of a little bit.
Okay, what year did you have your S chassis, which was like a modded rear-wheel drive car? What year was that?
So the year it became legal, so I got it 15 years after 1991.
What year was
So
that?
like 2006.
Yeah, 2006. I mean, I guess I'd already had my Corolla 6 years before that.
Yeah, and then you got rid of it.
Right. But then I got a Cressida. I got a Cressida in like 2003 or 4.
Right, but then there's that age gap, so
But
it'd be better
then-
to actually run it against Kevin, because like you're very much our senior.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got my Corolla in like 2003, 2002.
Yeah, I remember seeing you drift the pink one in 2004 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was 2005.
And that's still pretty, like, you know what I mean? And after
Yeah.
I built the
that was like that
X7
was the second car. That was my second Corolla by that event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I had to wait for my I was into the S chat. I bought it before it was legal, right? So I had to wait for it to show up. So
Oh, that's pretty sick.
like,
I
that
had
was
built the Jay-Z Cressida in 2005 or 6.
Yeah.
So like that was already like, you know what I mean? That was my progression. It was like AE86, brief RX-7 stint. The RX-7 was going to progress into an FC, but then I luckily just was like, yeah, I'm going to buy this X7. So then I bought the X7, bought like 3 more X7s, bought an X8, built the X8, and then built another X8.
So at the time that I was getting into it, Corolla prices were on the rise,
Mhm.
and like there was already the drift tax on those, right? Like it just was
Yeah.
like they were going up in price. It wasn't like when you talk to the probably like when you bought your Corolla, Gerard, you probably bought it for like
$1,500.
pennies on the dollar, you know.
$1,500. It was an X
and-
pizza delivery car.
Good.
Yeah,
Did it
megabyte pizza.
Smell like pizza. Megabyte pizza.
It obviously
Oh
smelled
no, it
like
wasn't
pizza.
megabyte. Was it megabyte? It's that one. I don't
That's
know.
some
It's
trash
Fresh
fucking
slice?
pizza right there.
Yeah.
No.
fresh
It's
slice.
Fresh Slice.
Actually, that's what it was. Fresh slice. There's the one. It's got like a picture of a
Yeah.
pizza with a piece out of it.
Guy was sitting on a gold mine if he just would have held on to it. Hey,
I know,
Well,
right?
I mean, that's you never know.
listen, there's a big difference between you guys and the guys that are still into Corollas. So for sure, there's a progression, and it's a Venn diagram. But I'm obsessed now with defining what each car person is, because it's like I don't really know what a like a Jay-Z guy or a JZX guy is. I have a sense of what a Corolla guy is.
But that's what I
So-
mean. It's so diluted now that like there isn't a JZX guy now. It
I
doesn't
mean, I
exist.
don't know. I feel like I'm still sort of a Corolla guy, you know, and I always will be. Like,
yeah,
I
but
still get more excited about like 30-year-old Corollas driving by than like modern supercars.
I still like seeing like most Japanese cars compared to supercars. Like I don't get super amped on supercars either.
So
you know,
speaking of
like-
which, check this morning.
Yo,
Saw
take
Countach.
it. Yo, take it.
Countach.
Oh,
Countach.
okay.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
Saw Countach this morning. Owner comes out. It's like I was like, yo, like Dominic was basically like, yo, sick car. I'm like, whoa, the owner's here. I'm like, sick. So I'm like, yo, how is it owning this in real life? And he's like, awesome. He's like, once you're driving it, it's just like another car. I'm like, yeah, but like, you know, it's every childhood dream to own a Countach, but like, is it actually that great? And he's like, it was my childhood dream too. Took me 30 years to get it. So clearly that's not the guy to be like, oh, you can't back up in it. You know, it pretty sucks pretty much to drive. Like that guy's like invested in that Countach. But anyways, it was pretty cool to see a Countach driving.
But
And
it's also
see,
pretty sick because like that dude like obviously loves his car.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, that was the guy.
And
You know,
then
that's
Gerard
the Countach
got in
guy.
his Blit and tried to race him.
No, I was in the truck.
Oh, okay. Then Gerard got in his truck and
Tried to race him.
It sounded like shit, honestly. It was like it definitely didn't sound like a fucking Lamborghini. Like it
Right.
was just like
Okay,
it
well,
was a
it's
Fiero kit car, and that's why
Yeah,
he was so
no,
stoked.
it was actually a Countach.
all right. We've strayed from. God damn it! All right. So you don't think there's like difference between Corolla guys and like the J? What I'm just gonna say Jay Z guys.
What
that
is
like
it? What is it we're discussing this?
Well, I
people
mean,
so
okay,
bad?
like I don't know, like the Corolla guys. There's like that entire anime and movies and video games about how the Corolla is this car that can beat all
Yeah.
these crazy modern cars
Yeah.
that it absolutely can't. So
Yeah, not a chance.
that kind of has this whole weird thing in that Corolla world too.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you for answering the question, Kevin, and not talking about Countach's Gerard.
Well, you have to
Wow.
be a certain kind of person to be so invested in Corollas.
Right.
That, like,
But what is
literally
that
just
certain
no-
type of person?
I
That's
don't
what
know,
I'm
they're-
Dave
asking.
they're-
Vickers,
They're really
Paul-
fun cars though.
Paul
Harrison.
Harrison.
Like,
The thing too with 8.6s today though is like they've definitely evolved, right? Like, they were, crazy at one point, but now it's like dudes are, making 300-400 horsepower 8.6s, or like like a 10,000 RPM S2000 8.6, like a Beams fucking turbocharged 250 horse NA, or I don't know, like just there's all sorts of Corollas that are evolved past your
Yeah.
average
Yeah,
cams
and honestly, like, but also like the companies too, like Panic Mode makes
yeah.
those crazy axles now.
Mhm.
Like JSP makes like is
Yeah, the
constantly putting out
shifters.
brand new stuff for 8.6s all
Yeah,
the time, and
yeah.
like the envelope is always moving forward with those cars. And yeah, even from the early 90s, it seemed like people understood the performance aspect of those cars, and it's been evolving ever since. And like there's less and less of the cars, so each of the cars is just becoming more and more,
Yeah.
like it's imagine owning a car for 30 years and like eventually you're just like running out of stuff to do, and it's like, all right, like billet battery tie down,
Yeah.
billet radiator hold downs,
Yeah.
you run out of things,
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's not what my pal Dave Vickers is running into, but I get it.
No, it's not.
I get it. Look, there's different levels to this shit, and I understand that.
I was gonna say one thing I do want to talk about is what my 8.6 would have been if I continued to build it. Because I feel like if I would say that, then some 8.6 guys would be like, "Oh, that's so fucking stupid," or like, "That's kind of cool," or like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like Kevin got to sort of like realize his dream 8.6, and I sort of just was like, "Yeah, fuck this," and never did it.
Your dream was to get rid of the 8.6 Gerard.
Well, no, I mean, there was a point when I was like, I'm gonna build this. I think it's like I tried to acquire the motor, or maybe like the flares, and it was just so difficult and expensive, and I just didn't really see that it was super worth it. But yeah, so I wanted the crystal body flares, those huge ones.
Oof, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think it was run free arrow. That's what I wanted. I think the run free was like sick.
It's also the one.
Yeah. But I wanted, because the CB, there was a CBY car. I think it was a CBY car, and it had Panasports. But so my 8.6 would be 5-bolt, or I guess just 4-on-114, but it would have the C5Cs, like the flat face Panasport, but they would be like probably 17s. I liked that the crystal body car had 16s, but I think 17s could be pulled off if it was like done properly and had like really small tires. I think at one point they had like 245 35 17s, and that would have been my car. It would have had like an SR, like a 350 horse SR.
I remember there's one photo of, it's like a blue Levin coupe, and it has like bubble flares that have been like radius so high. And I swear that car's on 17s.
Yeah, I think that
It's like
might have
Chrome Meister S1s or something.
Okay, though that one's. I think when the tires, I think that car has huge tires though, because I think I know
that
the
car
you're
does have
talking about,
huge
and
tires.
Yeah,
It
I
looks
feel like
almost
the
like a Jada toy. That
yeah,
car.
I don't like that look on 8.6s.
It's that's a bit much. Like
But with
yeah,
this
maybe
with the
maybe
CBY
16s.
flares, yeah, I think 16s would be good if you could get those 16-inch like Panasport 5-spoke
I
flat
swear,
guy.
even back then though, like 16s were like, oh, stay away from 16s because you can't get tires because all the OEM
Absolutely.
tires at the time were 17s,
Yeah.
and now all the OEM tires are like 20.
Yeah, exactly. I think back then it was like if I had 205 4017s on like a 17x9, I thought that would have been pretty sick because obviously the flares are big and it would have been radius, and the car would have just been super low and like kind of wild looking. Like it
Yeah.
basically looked like a Hot Wheels car, and then have 350 horse and like would have been pretty sick. But yeah, that was my dream 8.6.
I remember they had that like Panda 8.6 hatch with the CVY kit or
That was a
CVY
CBY
flares.
car.
Yeah, exactly. And it had like it did have. I thought they were Panasports.
Those are the Panasport race wheels. Yeah, like the
Yeah,
8-spoke.
but then
Yeah,
it also had like the P1s on the same
oh
car.
yes,
Like
that yeah.
flush face
Honestly,
and like super deep. And like that to
honestly,
me was like one of the first times where I was kind of like, oh, so like a wheel that has absolutely no dish
can
can
look
like
sick.
so sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember honestly, like I saw one time, and it had was it RPO ones, but they were like the GTR RPN ones, maybe, which is what Ronald was running. So it's like an RPO one, but like the deep GTR size. So it was like RPN ones or something on
Yeah.
an 8.6, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty sick actually. But yeah, the P1s, like flush face, one piece wheels on an 8.6, I was like, that's fucking tight. Yeah,
Yeah, because I feel like I hadn't really seen that before.
yeah.
Hey, now that I
Hey,
got
hey.
you guys to nerd out about
Yeah.
what makes you a Corolla guy? Like, is it, we kind of touched on it, but now I'm seeing more of it, and I think Kevin gave a good introduction. There's definitely a romanticized view, I think.
Honestly, it's just a super fun car, man.
And maybe for me, that's what it was too. It was like I was like working at McDonald's. That like that car was
Yeah.
my entire life.
Yeah.
Like I would go out, I'd get off work and then we would go drifting from like 11 p.m. to like 6 a.m. I'd come home and then like pick up the paper and like come inside and go to bed, and and like that was my do that every night as much as I could in that car, and like
Yeah, for me it was
yeah.
like the ultimate like Vancouver car, because when it's always raining, like mine was basically just like no interior, canned, whatever, and like you just literally drift it everywhere. And back then, like you didn't get in trouble. You could definitely get in trouble. I remember like in the snow, I drifted past cops and stuff, and it was like I was like, "Oops, sorry," like a little too much throttle. And they're just like, they're not chasing you because it's a fucking Corolla. They're like, okay, this guy, like, whatever, like, he's probably just got sideways because it's rear-wheel drive, whatever. But like, yeah, I mean, I was probably 20, early 20s. I had my girlfriend. We'd drive to work, and she'd fucking spill her coffee everywhere because I'd removed all the interior, and like she's hitting her elbows on the bare door panels and stuff. And yeah, it was just like such a rad car, man. Like I remember just like going to a parking lot, and like you need to park the car, so you just like whip it sideways, e-brake, and like it's literally like a fucking go-kart you're driving 24/7. It's just so sick.
Yeah, you get so it feels like you become so in tune with the car.
Yeah.
And maybe that just does come from being that age and driving that often with it.
So that explains how Dave Vickers managed to drive 11 hours with no speedometer, no tachometer, and no fuel gauge through the mountains. Okay, good.
But the other thing is like, yeah, I feel like I'd also take a TE and like a Mango, and
Really?
yeah.
Why?
I always kind of like the TEs more.
Interesting.
It was like
I have a lot of experience in a Mango, and it was like that's a really, really, really small car.
Yeah, they are very tiny.
Like I grew up in a Mango with an 18RG in it. Like my buddy had one when we were 16, 17 years old, and it was cool like back then because that's what cars were back then. You know what I mean? Like they're fucking tiny, and like but like after you're sitting in like an X7, you're like, fuck, this thing's easily as fast, like powerful, whatever. Like yeah, it's cool.
The first real drift car I'll say I ever sat in that was like a proper drift car was a Mango, and it was Paul Harrison's.
Yeah,
And like
that car
thing-
is wild to ride in, man. Like it is fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
like it was always like, oh, he's gonna spin, and it was like, oh no, I'm not, and that was just like.
Well, I think
it was
I
like-
rode in the Corona too, Panic's Corona, and I was like, the amount of track they have with those cars that are that small is unbelievable. Like, because I'm only used to drifting like an X8 and larger.
giant sedans.
Yeah, giant sedans. And I mean, like, dude,
Sedan King, I believe, is the tagline.
yeah, get my Aristo on that track and then put any of those Corollas or the Corona in that same space, and there's so much more track. It's crazy. And I can't imagine, like, the Mango literally has 2 car lengths in the width of the track. You know what I mean? Like, it could be fully sideways at any point. Like,
Yeah, I drifted with him like in the car doing like in-car footage
yeah,
a long time ago, very, very long time ago, like before it was a Beams engine,
yeah,
and it was on a kart track. And yeah, like, so when you say that, that's completely accurate. So
yeah,
like, Paul Harrison would just be completely sideways to the point where you thought the car would spin,
yeah,
and it would come back, and it was like nobody else was doing that.
yeah.
And the only reason he didn't win that drift competition is because his engine blew, and it literally was like the engine block with the dipstick was just on the track, and like Jesse Exner ran out on the track, and he was like, I got it, and in his hand he had a dipstick with a part of the engine block wrapped
Oh my
around it.
gosh, that's crazy.
And then like Paul, we're like, oh my god, he's gonna be so pissed he blew his engine. He's like, was it my transmission? And they're like, no, it was your engine. He's like, oh, I don't care, it's fine, I'll just put a new one in. And that was like my first experience with like kind of like a seasoned vet driver. That was like, we were just so blown away. This guy had trailered his car to Saskatchewan to drive, destroyed his engine, and that would be so devastating to like a 20-year-old. But then like Paul was just like, oh no, it's fine, I'll just go to a junker and have another engine and put it in, and that was that.
That is almost like the essence of Corolla. It's like, I feel like back then the cars were what they were. It was like a true representation of like a fun, cheap car. Whereas now it's like, I feel like the dudes who have Corollas now, they don't have that representation, because now it's
not
like,
cheap.
yeah, it's not cheap. It's probably modified. Like, you're not doing a bunch of shit to it unless it's like, like real money or kind of nice or whatever, because it's like, you're not buying another car. You know what I mean? Back then we'd smash a Corolla, you probably just go get another one. It's not a big fucking deal. Whereas like now it's like, you buy a Corolla, it's a fuck ton of money. And then you're not going out there to smash the thing. Like, you know what I mean? They're like rare. You probably found a pretty nice one. Yeah.
Or you like,
But I mean,
found
also,
someone
I mean, if that's your thing, if you're like, hey, I want to drift a Corolla, like, you're gonna go out there and drift a Corolla, and like whatever happens to it is gonna happen to it, and you'll fix it. And
yeah, no, for sure. I just mean you're not probably like going fucking ham on the street, like with like little to no fucks. You know what I mean? Like
it's the same thing that we said about the JZXs. It's like, is the guy with a $50,000 JZX going to drive it like it's a $12,000?
Yeah, exactly.
JZX.
Exactly.
Kevin, there was an episode where I asked you about S2000s, and you said you saw an S2000 for sale for $35,000. And you said, is that the world we're living in? And I had that same moment, but I saw like a Corolla 8.6 with like mismatched body panels and like, same thing. It was like, this car's $30,000. And I was like, is this the world we're living in? Like, is
like, how are you paying $30K for a Corolla, man? Like,
because there's only so many left, and a lot of people want them, I guess.
You could almost buy a fucking Porsche.
That's honestly, I think, why I also am like, yo, like, if I had my choice now, like, I wouldn't pick the 8.6. It's like, well, like, I could get like a Mango or a TE, which would, I feel, scratch the itch of an 8.6 very well.
That's the crown of the JZX world. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is
but even TEs, even TEs are not cheap anymore. And
what's the modern replacement for a Corolla?
That is the question I was going to ask too. Yeah.
I've honestly never driven the new 8.6. No, I mean, I haven't done it. I don't know. I've never even sat in one.
It feels. I would say it's the E36.
Some people say it's an Altezza with a 6-speed in it.
Yeah, I could see that too, and I did feel I remember telling people that when I had it, because yeah,
I
it's
Then I was like,
just
fuck this shit.
just enough power to be fun, and definitely not enough power to have a lot of fun.
for me though, that's the thing. It's like maybe an Altezza with the 6-speed, like an RS 200, would be very Corolla-esque. However, the IS 300, it's sort of lost the mark. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah, not the
Fortunately,
IAS.
it has the power. Like now, it's got more torque. It's got the NA2J. It has a better power plant, but now it's got like a 5-speed and like power fucking seats and like all this other shit that Corollas sort of never had. I mean, they had power
Yeah.
windows and stuff, but like
That was a super rare option for the 8.6.
power windows.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Mine
that
had
was a rare option, and like air conditioning was an even rarer option.
shit. I don't know. Maybe my car had roll-up windows. Actually, I don't even know. I thought I had power windows, but
You're
maybe I
just
was thinking the
imagining the
X7.
luxury that you used to have in your life.
It's probably the
That's a pretty
X7
Gerard move.
because the X7 had those sort of switches that are reminiscent of an 8.6.
Yeah, I specifically said Altezza, not IS 300.
Yeah, no, I think an Altezza would be very close.
We don't.
But I mean, that's not it.
BRZ FT86 FRS is gonna scratch that itch.
I feel
I
like
know
that.
the answer.
I feel like that scratches that itch, because I feel like a lot of dudes who are into 8.6s like are going to get that car.
I don't know. Dave Vickers yelled at me about that.
Yeah.
He was very upset, and he said there was nothing in that car that paid homage to the 8.6.
I mean,
Very upset.
my thing is, if it didn't have the boxer engine, I would
Yeah.
be 75% more interested. Honestly, like the boxer engine is just instantly like a fucking fail in my books. It's like I'm not.
What current Toyota engine would you prefer to have in that car out of their current lineup?
Fucking any
Yeah,
RZ,
I don't know what their
Yeah, I
current
don't know
lineup
what
of
they are
motors
either. I was
is.
just hoping you guys knew.
fucking 3RZ or whatever. I don't know. Take a
I'll
Tacoma
fucking
engine.
take like the 2ZZ out of like the Echo.
Yeah, 100%. Even not the 2Z. What's the one that's a 1.8 liter? The 1ZZ. I mean, that thing's godless as shit, man. Honestly, the 1ZZ is probably more disappointing than the fucking 20 valve. 180 horsepower. Like, no, it just doesn't do anything.
I think one thing I'll say is that that having the Corolla as my first car definitely funneled me down into like this rabbit hole of Toyota that there's no way I'm coming out of.
Yeah,
'Cause-
and that's totally
'cause-
fair.
Yeah,
get
because
that.
I remembered like every drift event just being like, all right, I'm just gonna kick the clutch as many times as I can and try and break everything, and you
Mhm.
could just never ever break anything.
Yeah, the car was indestructible.
And I drove into a concrete barrier on the street one time and like had 8 degrees positive camber, and I drove. It was basically like it happened right going over the bridge from New West to Surrey, and then I drove all the way from there back to Steveston on that, like
One
totally fine.
one thing I'll say about the Corollas that was very memorable was the steering. The steering was pretty good. Was awesome. And I didn't even have any of that like quick rack fucking power steering and all that shit. I didn't have any of that, but I just remember the stock steering wheel was sick because it was deep dish and like,
Dude, the
kind of a
stock
cool
steering wheel was like 15 inches. It was like a bus wheel.
but no,
the
it was
biggest wheel ever.
really, but it was still leather and it was deep.
It was leather and it was deep, but it was huge.
It took about 8 cows from the sound of it. To
Yeah.
wrap that
But I
up.
just remember, well, like, because it was, like I remember literally the first day I picked that car up, I drove it down the street and drifted like Marine Drive and fucking Main Street. I was just like, yeah, fuck, this is
Hey,
sick.
why
Like,
are you out here bringing down my property value?
but I was just like, this is it. Like, I finally have it. You know what I mean? Like, I watched all the videos. Like, I was watching Option like religiously and watching all these 8.6s. Like, what the? And I'm like, I got to get that car. Then I got the car and I did the thing like right after I bought it. I was like, man, this is it. This is heaven. And then,
Totally.
There's
that video of like Ueo and he's like going down the straight and he's just like throwing the wheel and it's like 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90
Yeah.
degrees, 90 degrees. And it fully feels like that's what it feels like when you're driving a Corolla. You can do that. Like I've never had a car that like was just so flickable and like so easy just to go from like one extreme to the
from
other.
lock to lock. And that's the thing too. And that's the thing too, is because it was like having had basically a JZX81 and then having had like a Corolla, it's like everything's just easily accessible. It, you know what I mean? Like you kick the clutch and the thing doesn't have any fucking traction to start with. Like I'm talking rain here, just because obviously in the dry, all these moves would have to be exemplified. Like it was way more work to do it in dry. But in the rain, it's like
higher speed.
Yeah, higher speed, higher risk. But like, yeah, you just kick the clutch like a tiny bit, and it's just like it's fully sideways, and like, okay, yeah, there it is, boom, and then and you grab the e-brake. Everything's just so accessible. But in the JZX, it's like, okay, like I'm spinning 235s without thinking in second gear, and like, you better pay attention because this car will fuck you up like real quick. Whereas the Corolla is like you're always just in control, and like you could just it would just give you more, or like ask for more from you. Whereas other cars like the JZX, it's like you better fucking be careful.
But like the opposite of that, but in the same wheelhouse is like it feels like the Corolla is a bit of a sadistic car. It's like like if you have like a low level one, you have to drive like perfectly, any tiny little flaw gets exposed, and you have to go as fast as you can. You have to do everything in your power, where it's like when you have like a powerful JZ and you can kind of just roast the tires, you can just kind of like roll out of the corner and like
I agree with that.
have fun a little bit, you know what I mean? Like whereas with the Corolla, it's like you have to be so concentrated on what you're doing, and like that has to be your main focus. And it's not about like having fun, but like it's so much fun sometimes,
I never got to that point because like I remember trying to slide it in the dry, and without an LSD it would like lock unlock, and I was just like, I'm not fucking doing this. Like it's gonna shoot me, like I'll be sideways and it'll unlock the one wheel and just shoot me towards the outside of the corner, or like car, whatever. And I was like, this thing needs like a some sort of diff or like more power, or it needs a bit of like cushion, you know what I mean, like some sort of predictability.
Did we answer what keeps 8.6 guys, or 8.6 guys in 8.6s? Like, have we fully?
I mean, maybe they just really enjoy those feelings we just spoke about, and they can't get them in a different car.
I mean, I don't know. Like every time I get in Dustin's TE, I'm just like, yo, man, like I want this so bad,
Really?
Yeah.
His car is super cool. A dude in the 911 was like giving him the thumbs up in that car.
I mean, that car is super cool. I just like driving that car. I was like, I don't want anything to fucking do with this thing. Not a chance.
Yeah, I'm down.
I mean, yeah, but Gerard, sometimes you feel like you're at the opposite end of the spectrum. You're very much pushing towards the luxury, like not the luxuries, but like
the Taycan.
You like the modern. Yeah. Where's our sponsorship? You like the modern things, like.
Yeah, I do.
You're always more interested in like the modern, and then I don't know if Kevin necessarily is with his Echo and his.
But that's the thing.
One thing I will say was with that new Crown, like that new Crown's modern. Like it's got like a backup camera, like stock.
Yeah, I mean,
like you walk up with the key in your pocket, it just unlocks. You press the button, it starts. Like I've never had anything like that, and like living with that for like the last 3 weeks has been quite enjoyable. You know?
I get it too, and those were the things that I said to Gerard about his QX when I messaged him, and then he just made fun of me. It was like, yeah, man, it's like 2021. What do you think a car is meant to do? And I'm like, oh shit. So like, Kevin, you're also describing things that have probably been like around for 13 years or something.
Well, that's the thing is
that car is a 2005.
We live in a vortex, like us car guys, like S chassis, JZX, whatever. We live in some fucking vortex where like everything we own and interact with, and like this shit's like 20 years old, man. This shit's like like old, you know what I mean? Like
it's hard to spend 8 times on a car when it's a brand new car,
Yeah. But so speaking of which, when I was talking about the steering on the Corolla, it's like it feels like this thing. But driving the Taycan again on the weekend, I was repeatedly in my head thinking, how in the fuck do they get the steering to feel like this? It's literally like whatever you're thinking, it's I don't. It's indescribable how fucking amazing the steering wheel is on that, or the steering is on that. And I mean, that's just like one Porsche. I can't imagine all the other Porsches. You know what I mean? So it's like a Corolla guy's a Corolla guy, but like that's because maybe that's like not that you're a bit of a snob, but like you've like found your niche, and now you're like, yeah, Corolla. But like if you were to
why
just
are they Keebler elves?
because they're small cars. But like if you were just
Alright,
like
go
drive
on.
a BMW one time and be like, oh fuck, like this thing's actually amazing. It's like way better than a fucking Corolla, and then drive a Porsche or like drive a, I don't know, what's another sort of like,
Man, this is offensive, but I was gonna say the one thing me and Corolla guys have in common is we've never driven a properly fast car, and that was rude. So I'll rephrase that. And I don't mean like all Corolla guys. I mean,
Yeah, have you
I don't know.
stretched your car's legs yet, Ryan?
Yeah, like, and I have, and I like, but my car is still not a fast car,
no.
right? Like it's quick, but it's not fast by modern terms. A stock JZ with like an exhaust isn't fast, and especially not in an Aristo. Like,
Speak for yourself, bro.
That-
My car rips.
which one? Your Blit?
Lit.
Or yes, Gerard, but you okay?
Yes,
Anyway,
Gerard.
I've never driven a properly fast car.
Yes.
And then what you're describing is so foreign to me when you talk about like the Taycan
Yeah.
or like an M3, like that is
Yeah.
never a thing that's come across, be able to experience. Oh man, my whole perception on everything is super skewed because like I'm living like I'm still probably 21, being like 400 horsepower is probably a really fast car, you know, like.
And then
I drove
imagine
Zap's
a
car.
Corolla guy.
Yeah, just anything.
Literally
yeah,
living
but
in a dream world of like fucking.
But I mean,
anime.
210 horsepower in a Corolla is pretty fast. That's, you
I'm
know,
sure it is, but like.
like 400 horsepower in a Corolla is like
Yeah, that's
unusable.
fucked up.
Yeah.
And then, but then you don't have any of the modern like things, right? Whereas,
Well, okay, I'll
I
tell
mean,
you what.
you could do it. You know, you could
you
build the
can do it, and you would
ultimate Corolla.
It sounds like it would be a lot, but then
Oh,
you
yeah.
can get something now, which is this sounds like sacrilege because it's like all these cars that make all this horsepower, and almost anybody can drive them, and it's like, oh, okay, well that's a very different experience.
I
You
mean,
now brought up an amazing point.
and I mean, I guarantee that's what Corolla guys love. Like, it doesn't matter if it's fucking fast. It doesn't matter if it's modern. It doesn't matter if it handles well. It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. It's just like a feeling, man.
Are you
It's-
saying that
it's just
Corolla
maybe-
guys are hooked on a feeling? Can I get you just to have a soundbite of Gerard saying they're hooked on a feeling?
Corolla guys are hooked on a feeling. That was a Toyota ad, wasn't it?
I
No,
don't know.
it's
Ford.
Toyota. That's what a
What
feeling.
a fun bunch of guys.
No, it's like,
Toyota.
oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
I'm gonna record this to be our new theme song for this.
Yeah.
No, but that
podcast.
was an.
What
I
a
swear that
fun
was an
bunch
old
of
one.
guys.
What a fun
That was
bunch
the
of
super
guys.
old. Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
remember
what
that
a-
one, but
Maybe that was a fucking cereal ad or something. I'm gonna Google it right now. Oh, what a fun bunch of guys.
So,
Toyota.
Kevin, before Gerard told us about that, you had a point. You were very excited. You were gonna say it is.
that's one thing that Corolla guys are really juiced on too, is the fact that like their car takes skill to drive versus a modern car, you know. It's like, oh, your car has traction control, your car has ABS, your car you know, has all these other stability mods and that sort of stuff. It's like this car is just a car.
Yeah,
well-
okay, that makes sense. It's like they're the key holder.
No,
They're
it's
Yeah.
the
like
only ones.
it's the gatekeeping thing. It's like, you know, like, oh, if you have ABS, well then like I'm superior to you at driving because I don't have ABS. And it's like, oh, you have traction control. I don't have traction control. It's like
It
Right.
takes. a
And then somebody
man.
rolls up on just a horse,
Exactly.
and they're like, I'm the best
Exactly.
because I know how to handle a horse. Because it's like
yeah.
not
And
it's
then
like,
and then the guy shows up with just running, and then the guy shows up running with bare feet, and then like
yeah.
it's a race to the bottom.
Exactly.
But it's like who puts down the fastest lap? Who puts down the fastest lap time? You know,
Yeah.
then that's all that really matters. And it's like
Right.
If you're beating a guy with a 911 in your Corolla, that's probably a pretty amazing feeling, you know?
Yeah, I would imagine that would be. Does that happen a lot?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't do track days, and I don't have a Corolla or a 911, so.
Well, I guess we should have had a guest that did one of the
One
three things.
one thing I will say too is I remember so one of the things that sort of like solidified my love for Japanese cars, and I mean this was even I think before or right around the time when I had my 8.6, we did a track day, and I remember thinking, okay, this is gonna be so cool. It was like with Kumo, and we got to drive minis and stuff on Mission Raceway, and then so there were these other dudes like road race guys that had all these crazy cars and like, you know, all sorts of shit. And I remember thinking there was one Porsche, and I was like, I've always loved Porsches. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get a ride in that thing. It looks so sick. It was like low and had like wheels and all these race mods and shit. And I remember riding in it or sitting in it, getting all super stoked, and then going around the track in this fucking Porsche and thinking, what a piece of shit. Like this thing fucking sucks. Like the brakes were great and like it handled, but like it didn't handle well. It wasn't that fast. Sure as fuck didn't sound cool. And then I got a ride around that same track in a brand new at that time, like STI with like 2 mods. STI fucking walked all over that car nonstop. And I just thought like that was kind of my thing where like Japanese cars that were like average. I mean, we're like not average. I mean, STI is barely average, but like it's an average car that's been modified. So like a Corolla or like a JZX, sort of same thing. They can fuck up those cars. You know what I mean? Like maybe those cars aren't that great, but
One
like
thing here, which, you know, does not really fit in tune with the episode is there's no way a Corolla is anywhere close to an STI though.
I mean, you could have a Corolla that would beat an STI. Or you
Yeah,
mean
but
just stock for stock?
That's that initial DS shit. You know what I mean? It's like you got to have like a Formula Atlantic engine and be like the world's best driver to like take a Corolla and beat an STI.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like if you had an SR20 Corolla that was like relatively well set up, it put up a fight.
That's what I'm saying though. Like now you know you have like you have like some crazy Corolla.
It's driving the Blit, like it's weird because like for some reason I don't have the inkling as much to drift it as I do to track race it, which is really, really weird for me. I just really love driving it super, super, super fast.
Yeah, that's fair. It's also not an 8.6, which isn't the point of this episode. No,
I feel like they're so closely related though, man. I don't know.
The Blit and the 8.6?
Well, like a JZX and an 8.6.
I don't really feel like they're that closely related at all.
No, I think there's a big difference.
Yeah, I feel like the Altezza and then maybe like the GT86. But
I mean, I guess
it's
I
like
feel
you've
like
gone from 2 doors to 4 doors.
Yeah.
You've gone from 4-cylinder to 6-cylinder.
I think this is the Corolla part of you romanticizing a connection.
But it's the feeling.
Exist.
It's the feeling.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
All cars, like not all cars have a feeling, but like I feel like cars that
I would say all cars have a feeling. Like
not necessarily.
sometimes the feeling is
you
like
hate the
stepping
fucking
into a
thing.
shoe that has a shit in it.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling. They don't always have
Sometimes
a
the
good
feeling
feeling.
is just like disinterest, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I feel like all spirited driving cars probably have some type of feeling that gains some type of favor. I don't think that your Blit has much semblance of an 8.6 to it. Like, it's like,
but I mean, that's the thing.
Like,
Is maybe
it's
that
inline 6, or you know, like straight 6 turbo with a 6-speed on it. You know, it's all.
But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I feel like I feel a bit of that feeling, that romanticized feeling that Kevin and I were talking about when I drive the Blit.
Right.
It's like I feel like.
Did you also feel that feeling in your X8?
X8, yeah.
So
X8 was fucking wild.
We're just.
But I mean, do you
built.
still have that same feeling in the stage? Yeah.
No, different feeling in the stage. Different feeling in the Aristo. No, definitely did not have that feeling in the Aristo. And maybe that's why I dislike the Aristo so much. It never gave me that feeling.
We're just drawing a line of like feelings that you like, though. Like,
yeah,
that's not
making
like,
a feeling map.
Yeah, we're making your mood board of cars isn't the same
But I'll
as a
guarantee
Corolla
you
guy.
that's probably a very
Yeah.
big factor in owning and loving Corollas, man. It's not the fact that it's a fast fucking car. An S chassis offers entirely different. Like an S chassis is a weapon. It's a great car. The AE86 is not a great car by any fucking means. It's just like a cool car. You know what I mean? So I feel like that it is relevant, the feeling aspect of it.
You know, I'm
Maybe-
I'm gonna relate it to the scooter right here because
There
like
you go. I can agree.
Gerard is like correct. It's like I remember driving my buddy's 240s when I had my Corolla and just being like, "You're kidding me? This is what you have to do? This is how easy this car is to drift? Like, has more torque, has more angle, has like literally everything is
Better
better. Like,
balance.
yeah, like
longer wheelbase.
yeah, literally everything is easier and better." And I'm like, this is
Alright.
what you're working with, but it's like the Corolla is just so fun and like it's so many smiles that I don't give a shit. Like I'll go
Yeah.
slower. I'll work harder, but like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be enjoying it the whole time.
But just to remind everybody listening that Kevin is not doing any of those things. He has a 1J
Yeah.
powered Tesla.
Yeah.
It's like I'll do all these things.
And I mean
15
that's a
years
good
ago.
point. That's a good point. Because why don't we drive S13s? Because we're still
Why
on that
don't you
Corolla.
drive-
We're still on
Yeah,
that
but-
Corolla fucking pathway. It's like, why do you
Yeah.
drive a JZX? Because it's like, it's not as easy as an S chassis.
No,
It
I don't
offers
believe that
different.
for a
No,
second.
it's not. It offers different driving aspects and advantages and disadvantages. But the same disadvantage it has is that it's a fucking Toyota, man. It's not meant for like sport driving. It's the only
Yeah.
sporting aspect is the fucking
It's
engine.
the engine, yeah.
All right.
And then the newest
so-
Crown, like the only sporting act, like isn't the engine.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
there is no sporting aspect. It's like the name athlete.
The steering is good.
Yeah, the steering does seem like it feels pretty nice.
So here's what it is: the S chassis you said is a weapon, and then
Mm-hmm.
the Corolla makes the driver feel like a weapon, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
Yes,
it's
there you
more
go.
of the embodiment of the self. It's like this is on me. Everything's on me. I make this go, and
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
you fail, it's also on you.
Yeah,
It's never
Yeah.
your like it's not your car necessarily.
Yeah.
It's you.
It's very karate.
exactly.
Which also explains Dave Vickers' stupid experiment to drive that car over the mountains. Anyway, but
Honestly, though, like one thing what I will say,
I don't
Ryan,
agree
is,
with
like,
Gerard's
no,
point,
no,
but
I
that's
don't
fine.
agree with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
didn't drive a
You're not part
Corolla.
of this Corolla crew, there, fucking Ryan.
Yeah, I'm not. You're right. I didn't make
Kevin and
that
I get
stupid
it.
choice.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you know
but-
what I mean.
Yeah, you're like every other Corolla
but I-
owner
like,
that
I-
says I'm air quoting, they get it. Like,
It's coming out. The Corolla in us is coming out.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. Bubbling
You'll never
over.
understand my struggles.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I won't. But we all ended up with Jay-Z's, so I don't know what to tell you.
But but you didn't drive your Jay-Z. You didn't drive anything. You just sat there, you know.
yeah,
Like,
you
what
had
do
a
you mean?
weapon, and then you
Yeah.
bought a bloated ass fucking like luxury boat that's
I
happens
tried
to
to drive.
imagine.
I tried to drive my weapon.
No,
But
I'm
then
I'm
what are
saying
you
you
saying?
didn't drive to Calgary. You didn't put in the time even in your luxurious fucking car that
Oh, you
could-
drove it from
could-
Saskatchewan?
No, it's always been here. I've driven that car's gone to Portland. That's
Oh, what?
I-
You bought that car here?
no, I bought that car before I moved here, had it shipped here, and it stayed here
Oh.
because I knew I was coming here. And
But
I, was
I
like-
met you, and you had that car at Penticton.
you
and I
shipped the car
lived-
here.
and I lived in Vancouver when we met. You just didn't have time for me because I had all that chrome on my car. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I think it does feel like you're romanticizing the thing. And every Corolla owner is going to be like, no, they totally get it. And anyone who hasn't driven a Corolla is going to be like, I mean, like, they're just being a Corolla owner about it. And that's fine.
But yeah, I
Just
mean
the
that's just it,
perception.
right?
And
Like
from
an
where
S
you're
chassis. If
from
I
where
had,
you're sitting, it makes sense.
yeah, if I was an S chassis guy, I would just talk all day about how fucking amazing of a car it is, and like, it is a fucking amazing car. And I mean, I could talk all day about how amazing Nissans are too, but like,
Yeah.
I started with
I
Corollas,
know.
and now I'm into
Yeah, but
Toyotas.
now- But now you're into Nissans.
I am, but I mean, that's why like I
We've just
literally.
negated that whole part. Like we just all of a sudden forgot that Gerard has a bunch of fucking sons.
But that's because like, yeah, I just love cars. You know what I mean?
But I think that's the
So
actual
Can I tell you
overarching
something?
theme.
Can I tell you something right now?
Yes.
Can I tell you something right now? And you were like, oh, like, you know, how come you guys got out? And I was like, oh, because I got this X7 and I saw it was so much better, and like it offered me all these things that the Corolla didn't, and like, and then Gerard was like, yeah, like imagine if you showed this Corolla guy like, oh, look at BMWs and
Mhm.
like look at this and look at that, and like
Mhm.
I'm still just like Toyota sedan,
Yeah.
rear wheel drive. That's like the only thing my caveman brain can focus on.
Yeah.
Like Gerard is looking elsewhere, and he's just like, well, yeah, like, dude, like the 20 Crown is kind of cool, but like look at this G37. Like you could make it stick. Like it's fucking $20,000 less than the Toyota equivalent that you can never get in the stick option, and like all
Yeah.
these things. And I'm just like, yeah, stop
Corolla,
trying
rear-wheel
to show me this,
Toyota.
because yeah, it's not what I want. It's not what I want to hear. And like Gerard's already kind of made that switch where he's just like, well, yeah, like I love Toyotas, but like
Yeah.
there's no Toyotas coming up
Yeah.
that are worth buying or kind of cool. You know what I
Well,
mean?
Runway's gone on that. I totally agree.
Yeah, like the runway ran out on cool Toyotas. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then the thing is,
It has.
then I'm the
Well,
opposite.
I just
of
saw a
Gerard.
GSF the other day. I saw a brand new GSF the other day. And I mean, like, I guess that's technically a sporty car. It's got sports elements. But is it a sports car?
No.
Dude, I was sitting on Hastings in a restaurant 2 days ago. And I saw LC 500 in like that
Mhm.
red,
Mhm.
and I was just like, oh my god, like those cars are so sick.
Mhm.
Really set off your caveman brain, hey?
I would still get it in the green,
Nori
but
green.
Yeah.
but honestly,
Uh,
like you don't really get a choice because they're already all built. Like you're not buying, you're not
Yeah,
picking
yeah.
the color.
Here's
Unless
your
you're buying
burnt orange. All right, I guess. I don't know if it comes in that color. I just assumed, and I feel like that would be the
Nah.
worst color to get.
Yeah,
It doesn't?
that's a Nissan color, isn't it?
I don't know.
Nismo orange.
Well, no. The FRS came in that orange as well.
Oh yeah.
Yo, seriously
ugh.
though, fuck our FRSs, man. I fuck those cars. And I hope
Yo, that's
Corolla,
the
I hope
yo,
Corolla
that's
guys
the name of
stand with me.
the episode. Like
Fuck
8-6
FRSs.
day. Fuck
Fucking
FRS.
FRS.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody let Gerard drive an FRS.
It's like, what did you say
This
that
is what I
thing that
want.
drifting masturbation?
Yeah.
Yo, was
I
that thing you
mean,
said, Ryan Benoit? It's like masturbating drifting or something?
why
Oh,
say
yeah.
my full name? Yeah, I think, but I say that for any car that's like not cool to look at. That when it
I feel
drifts.
like that's where we got with the like E36s with no windows. It's drift
Yeah.
masturbation.
All
Same
right.
thing.
It's like
It's
the
like
dudes-
you're having a great time, but nobody else wants.
But at least
to-
E36s are cool cars. You know what I mean? Like FRS, like it's a stretch for me to think. Like I don't know what you got to do to that thing to make me think it's cool, and I hope other people feel.
I
the
mean, I
same
don't know.
way.
Watching a stock E36 that has like a crumpled quarter panel and no windows is
Okay, but I'm
equally
not talking
terrible.
about that car. I'm not.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
that
what
is
that
terrible.
was what we were talking about when we.
But that
talked
could
about
be
the
any car. Could you
drift
imagine
masturbation.
seeing like a crumpled ass like JZX 90 fucking sky high front wheels, like intercooler hanging off the front? It's equally shitty. It just sounds cooler. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is like you take a really nice E36 and it doesn't even have to be that fucking nice. Literally just low, clean, nice wheels. And like it's probably a 6. And like you take like a wide fendered, deep dish wheel, 2 JZ swapped FRS, and it's probably a 6 in my books. You know what I mean?
Someone should I would like for someone to let Gerard drive their FRS or their BRZ, whatever it's called. Someone will let Gerard drive that and see how he feels about it. That'd be great. That'd be a great takeaway from this episode. Also, I'm not disagreeing with you on that because I have I mean, some data that backs it up that it's like if I post a photo of a drifting BRZ or FRS, whatever, what's the chassis code for it? And
Fucking garbage.
and
GARBAGE. I don't.
Anyway, yeah, garbage. If I post that, regardless of how nice the car is, it rarely like gets any traction. It's not like, and I mean, obviously there's bias in the audience that's
Yeah.
absorbing
It's not a
content, but
90s Japanese car.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, but is that all Dotalogic is? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Is that all SerialNine is?
Is that all I am? Now I'm gonna go on another fucking vision quest, trying to figure out who I am as a person. So Gerard and I are on different paths, is what I've learned. He's going to Nissans, and I've moved away from Nissans. So Gerard would like a weapon, and I would like to become a weapon.
I'm sick of trying so hard. I want to, like I said, if I can't beat him, join him.
Yeah.
Like imagine how much better the weapon is after you further weaponized it. Now you got this
If
Toyota.
you're like Rambo, is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah,
Or-
exactly.
oh, okay.
Yeah, you're fully
sharpened
kitted out.
it.
You got a
sharpened
grenade launcher under your fucking gun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's got a bayonet.
Which this is great because Dave Vickers spent the night in Hope, which is where they filmed Rambo.
They
First
did
Blood.
film Rambo. I hope.
So that
there's
dude's
like
a
there's
weapon.
like a Rambo statue in Hope.
Yeah, there's
That's
gonna be
so
a Dave
funny.
Vickers statue in Hope. All right. I don't know. Is there anything else we can think to add?
There's an A86 locally for sale with an F20C.
Is that the same
for-
one that's been for sale forever?
I don't know. It's for 35,000.
Is that the world we live in?
I mean, at least that one has like a F20C and like
You
a
know
bunch
what
of
I
other
would buy
stuff.
instead of that? An S2000.
I would take an S2000 over an 86 any day. Any
Yeah,
day.
what would it take for me to get you guys into? What would it take for me to get you guys back into an 8.6? What is it? What do you
Give
need?
it to me. I don't know.
Yeah. So if I
Yeah.
gave you one for free, you would build it and then do stuff with it, or would you sell it?
I don't know. I have no interest in having an 86 anymore.
Good.
Like it
Now
would
I've
have to
got you.
already be built, and I would just have to hop in and drive it, and it'd
Now
have
I'm
to be
glad
crazy.
that I've disconnected you from your romantic.
Honestly, I'm still there. I feel like if you gave me an 86, like right now, like I would fully be stoked on like
You would drive off into the sunset, and we would never see you again. It's
I
just like,
drive off
where'd
into the
Kevin go?
sunset, listening to Vaporwave
Yeah.
through my headphones because the stereo doesn't work, and then I would run out of gas because the gas gauge doesn't work.
See, the thing is that you feel about 1Js what just Corolla guys actually feel about Corollas. Your Corolla is the 1J. That's what it actually is. You look very distraught about that I keep saying that.
Me?
Yeah, you just
No, I mean I love what you.
romanticize. Like I understand your romanticization of a
The
1J,
1J.
and I get that. But that's the thing. It's like I can see that. I don't necessarily get the romanticization of I see why people, now that you've explained it to me, I can understand an 8.6, but
Yeah.
it's not something that would be for me. The 1J I get.
Yeah.
Kevin, I don't know what your
That's because you have a Jay-Z, so that's why
Yeah,
you're
I
like,
know.
oh, I get it. But maybe
Yeah,
if you
but
had
that's
a
what I was trying
Corolla,
to say at the beginning.
you could
is
also
that-
get it.
Yeah, what I was trying to say at the beginning is like, what makes a Jay-Z guy? I don't think Jay-Z guys and Corollas are the line that draws between them is like mutually exclusive.
Yo, the 1J is the Nissan
No.
of Jay-Z's.
That actually might be it.
The 1J is the
You-
Nissan of Jay-Z's. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Because every Nissan guy I know wants an inline six Toyota engine. Like, and that is actually it. They, like the Nissan guys are always very willing to go to a Toyota engine.
Yeah.
Carter was a Nissan guy. Zap was a Nissan guy. I was a Nissan guy. Zach Chitty is a Nissan guy.
Yeah.
Gerard, you're doing this backwards. In true Gerard fashion, you're doing
Yeah.
it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
That's
guess
because Nissan makes a sporting chassis that's fun to drive. Toyota makes a powerful engine that's reliable, and so merge the two, and it's the best of both worlds, I guess.
what would be your preferred engine swap for an 8.6?
I'd probably put a UZ in. As much as I dislike UZs, that engine in that car is probably pretty awesome
Kevin,
and-
what would you do?
and good enough. You know what I mean? As far as power goes.
I want to. I honestly, I'd want to do it again.
The
The
rotary?
rotary? No.
Like I know the SR is like the better choice. It makes more sense, but like yeah, like I feel like now I have the knowledge and the skills to be able to do it how I had envisioned it and have it work properly.
You're combining two of the weirdest car guy
I'm a weird
personality.
guy.
Well, I'm a weird guy.
Yeah, I'll put a 49cc two-stroke scooter motor into my Corolla.
I thought you were gonna say beams because that was what you wanted to do, wasn't it? You bought an
did.
Altezza for the engine.
And then he drove the beams.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like the beams in the Altezza was a little bit lackluster, but I feel in like the TE where I was originally planning to put it, it would have been not lackluster, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in my old age, or maybe just my preference, I definitely have an affinity for torque, and fucking the beams, no torque. The 4AG, no torque.
I love the wisdom that you've gained over the years. Is torque for some reason.
I don't know. It's fucking sick. It makes the car so much easier to drive, and it's like more relaxing. And it's like if it has torque in the middle and low end, but makes a ton of horsepower on the top, it's like fucking amazing. Basically, like a JZ.
Hey, did you know wisdom is defined by knowing all the things that you don't know, knowing that you don't know everything?
What?
Yeah, what's that curve called?
That's
A
the
specific curve.
I don't know. Yeah, it's Socrates and Plato. That's what wisdom is. There's knowledge, and knowledge is knowing,
Yeah.
and then wisdom is knowing that you don't know everything. So the wisdom that you've gained and knowing that you don't know everything.
It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, like as you go up, you're like, oh, I know everything. And then you get to a point where you start to know a lot and you realize like, oh, wait a minute, like I know a lot, but there's infinitely more that I don't know. So then as you
Exactly.
learn more, you go down and your certainty on how much you know goes down until you reach it, you know?
That's why I have to have a
Wisdom.
V8 because I haven't had that yet.
I mean, that's not really what Kevin just explained to you, but all right.
No, I think it's good.
All right. SerialNine does philosophy. It will be an episode.
I'm down with that one.
Gerard. Yeah, I did that. That's why I need a V8. All right, cool. I don't think there's anything else we need to cover.
Nope.
You want to do? How do you want to wrap this up?
Say no to
Cody's
pop-up
nuts.
lights.
Say
No,
no to pop-up lights.
Oh,
That's
that's a whole interesting thing in itself.
I
I
mean,
feel like you're taking money out of what's his face's t-shirt fund. Does he
Cole
still make those
Chalmers.
t-shirts? Cole
No,
Chalmers
he
t-shirt.
doesn't.
I mean,
he
on
does
an
not
S
make
chassis,
those.
they're sick, but like, I mean, if I'm gonna have an A86, it's gonna be 11 front. You know, this is how it has to be.
All right, I know how I want to wrap this episode.
All right.
I know Dave Vickers
wrap
is gonna-
it up.
Dave Vickers is going to listen to this episode and be like swearing at me and then occasionally swearing at everyone else and super upset. And I just want to say to Dave Vickers personally, this is for you not showing up on time. You have to listen to this episode for coming 48 hours late to your own car show.
Peace out.
Duck Fave Dickers.
Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.